as we're taking a look at the book by the gentleman Wiley. The book is once again, it's called Breatharianism, Breathe and Live Forever. So much love and thank you once again for joining on today's reading as we've been proceeding. So we'll begin today on chapter 2. Now chapter 2, the title is called The Foods in Our Poisons. Now you heard that right. It's called The Foods in Our Poisons. And we'll read an excerpt from this chapter here. We can protect ourselves against negative influences by raising our consciousness, by raising our spiritual vibrations, which are the life force. When we become highly aware and vibrating so high, very few negative forces can live in this vibration. Once we allow the light of positive vibrations to flow through us, we can then begin to work at what we truly are, as long as we continue to raise this energy force. It will automatically raise our energy, which in turn raises our vibrations. Some people may call this a miracle of life. It simply means to begin to know oneself from the inside, and then it is possible to let that manifest on the outside world. It is always a great joy to us to watch the people around us blossom as they begin to see their inner strengths and their inner awareness put into practice. Wiley had a girlfriend who had just gone on her own in the world after living with her family for 21 years. She was slightly overweight and a bit inhibited, but for her, the biggest challenge was her body. As this girl began to cleanse her body by eliminating junk food, she began to lose weight. She started to like herself better, and as each pound was shed, she realized that her extra years gave her valuable lessons that she would teach her sister, and thus that barrier was gone. Once the weight problem was lessened, the fear of competition from her younger sister was lessened, and it was at that point she began to realize she could have a marvelous friendship with her sister, no longer clouded with a smokescreen of negative thoughts. At that point, Wiley knew that the woman was well on her way to being as beautiful outside as she had become on the inside. It is so important to realize the need to cleanse the body and purify the blood. In this regard, there is one other fallacy about water which we would like to point out. The fallacy is the idea that we can cleanse our systems simply by flushing out the body like a sewer. This is a fallacy based on the lack of understanding of the physiological function of our organism. An article by Dr. Luther L. Wiedekind of Brooklyn, New York, states, purification of the human organism is an electrochemical process of the living cells. The waste products like acid, sulfuric acid, carbonic acid, etc., must be first combined with some of the alkaline elements, principally sodium, before they can be taken up by the bloodstream and excreted. If the diet is lacking in the necessary organic salts, large quantities of water will only complicate matters by thinning the blood and still further reducing its percentage of mineral elements. Similarly, the digestive juices and other fluids of the body will lose their strength. Digestion and elimination will then be impaired, while the heart and kidneys will be overworked. On the other hand, a well-planned improvement of the diet will enrich the blood, in the needed organic salts and aid the system in the performance of its physiological functions, especially in the more complete digestion of foods and in the excretion of waste matter. Now you can begin to understand some of the secrets of water. It will be up to you to take it all in and let it digest until you feel it begin to raise you up one more vibration. And it will, since it is filled with the clean, pure light of truth. It is at this point that you can take all of that energy and turn it towards others, giving it back to the universe from whence it came, adding strength to you and others and to the universe. This is the process of growth that will become more evident with each step towards practicing Breatharianism. How many millions of people have read, "Warning, the Surgeon General has determined that cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health." After reading that statement, why do millions of people continue to put that cigarette into their mouths and commence to inhale? We think the answer lies somewhere in the subliminal and habitual areas of our lives. The subliminal, of course, is the person who started to act the act of smoking as a young boy. Little did he know that the first puff of smoke was the beginning of the end of his life. The dangerous poison in the beginning stages makes the beginner violently ill. As he gradually increases the number of cigarettes he has per day, his body becomes able to withstand more and more of the deadly substance. Since each day the body becomes more and more damaged by the process, he is then able to ingest more of the smoke without a violent reaction. But then he is enjoying the newly acquired habit, and at that point is hooked. Not a pleasant kind of addiction when you consider the chemical breakdown of tobacco, nicotine, nicotinoene, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, ammonia, methane, methylamine, hydrogen sulfide, furfuryl, nicotellin, pyrrole, pyridine, picoline, lutein, collidine, formaldehyde, carbolic acid, prussic acid, and arsenic. It is not safe to think that if you do not smoke, you cannot be affected by the harmful substances. If you keep persistent company with smokers, their cigarettes will pollute your lungs. The black coating, which shows up on x-rays of all smokers and of all people in contact with smokers, is proof enough of the damaging effects that coating can have in obstructing the free passage of oxygen into the blood. The habitual smoker has a challenge ahead of him, but only to the extent that he makes it so. Remember, through suffering, we can achieve a higher state of consciousness. And for the addicted smoker, his will be a form of suffering until the body can be relieved of the deadly toxins. I feel like the same kind of goes for caffeine and a lot of different things, because, caffeine, that was tough. Once we have understanding of our problems, we can release the emotions that have been clogging the process of attaining perfect health. Then the cleansing process can begin. And once the blood is purified, we have the direct energy flow that will lead to the end of the habit. Just sit in silence for a day and think about your smoking problem. And if at the end of the day, you feel you want to be rid of the addiction, then you are most of the way there. It can be only your decision. Breatharianism is physical perfection. Man came into physical existence a perfect Breatharian. God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living entity. Genesis 2, verse 7. Nothing was lacking, and nothing was needed. The Breatharian needs only air and nothing more to sustain the body. It is not always easy to think that the air we breathe might be destroying us. But that is one of the challenges we face when we are trying to reach a perfect state of health. The first stage to achieving better is very pleasant as we begin to centralize our ideas on changing conditions of evil and in harmony in our world that affect our spiritual health. Usually at this point, we are able to have a happier home life, and our health improves to a certain degree. The second stage of practicing Breatharianism becomes more of a challenge since we are beginning to see the reality of our unhealthy bodies, while at the same time are living around people who do not understand what we are feeling. For example, friends think that your diet is too erratic, or perhaps your sense of devotion to practicing Breatharianism has become too extreme. I definitely have gotten that, but hey, I'm a Scorpio, right? We're extreme by nature, they say. Since you refuse to participate in the normal chit-chat at most social gatherings, you can feel constant pulling in this stage when you would like to leave your career to improve your health, but there is no one to pay the bills and cover the other commitments which you have become involved with over the years. At the same time, you can feel your inner strength growing from all the studying and practicing you have been doing to improve your health, and you do not want to regress from that point. So all that is left is to live in two worlds. One where family and friends still love you because you have not become too extreme by stepping on their beliefs. Yeah, never do that. And the other where you go inside and dwell in the newly found knowledge of practicing Breatharianism. This is very difficult, a very difficult time, since all of our beliefs are not firmly grounded in the truth. We read and we believe, but we do not always live the life that we would like to truly demonstrate. Then, the third stage of practicing Breatharianism evolves. This is the stage to look forward to. Now we can live our lives evolving around all other lives and not get mixed up in them. Yeah, definitely that comes into play around family and friends. Being able to be in the world but not of the world. Being able to still live your life around other people who are not living at all like you are. At this point, we are able to do our jobs in the external world, yet have no inner conflicts, since we are living in the consciousness we have now attained, that of practicing a healthier life. So if we do not seem to do all things perfectly, even at this stage, we do not need to be upset. For the temptations that do not yield immediately will. But only after we see that no occurrence can rise above the consciousness of a true practicing Breatharian. Therefore, by judging all of the so-called life-sustaining theories, we are simply raising our consciousness to a level of perfect existence. To question the air that we breathe is to learn more about why we are breathing to die. Scientists every day are beginning to realize that the quality of our air determines the state of our actions. In an article taken from the Rocky Mountain News, it is stated, weather-sensitive people who get irritable, depressed, and lose their sex drive during thunderstorms and warm, windy days can blame their foul moods on positive ions in the atmosphere. However, negative ions, which are generated near waterfalls and at high altitudes, produce sunny dispositions. And that is why Texas Tech researcher Michael V. DeSantis thinks Niagara Falls is such a popular honeymoon spot. DeSantis, a doctoral candidate in psychology, says researchers cannot explain how the electrically charged particles trigger such moods and feelings. But one clue may be serotonin, a neurochemical instrumental in initiating sleep. He said studies have shown the chemical is triggered by positive and negative ions. While negative ions produce positive effects on humans, positive ions produce negative effects, such as depression, headaches, nausea, irritability, slowed reaction time, and a loss of sex drive. Positive ionizations tend to bring out these otherwise unexplainable symptoms in some person, DeSantis said. Surpluses of positive ions are not just generated by the weather. In large cities, especially those at low altitudes, there is an oversupply of positive ions, DeSantis said. A great deal of positive ions are produced by pollution and industrial sources. Pollution destroys negative ions and leaves a very unfavorable balance by robbing the air of its natural allotment of ions. The more man fools with the air electricity, the more we are made to suffer. Our blood chemistry cannot possibly balance out when all of the heating and cooling systems are robbing our air of negative ions that create the most energy for our bodies. The rush hour traffic created in most cities can cause even the most serene person to get out of control. As our eyes water and our mouths ache with poison, how long will it take for people to put a stop to all of this deadly environment? Respiration is not one of the things that we can shut off and on when we are in a harmful environment. When you stop breathing, you stop living. As soon as we come into this world, we begin the process of breathing and do not stop until we die. Only through constant exposure to a faulty environment do we begin to deteriorate. It is this process that causes our gradual loss of existence, both on the earthly plane and the spiritual one. One of the factors contributing to a faulty environment is all of the chemicals that are added to processed foods in preparation for public consumption. There are over 10,000 of these chemicals used in our foods every day. Many of these are known to be toxic or poisonous. Thousands of these so-called chemicals are added to foods to improve acceptability by a disillusioned consumer and an unaware public. For example, the skin of oranges are dyed bright orange to match our mental image of an ideal orange. The poultry are fed a chemical to turn the meat yellower and more appetizing to the eye, while fruits and veggies are kept unblemished by fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, and other anti-spoilants. Bread has 16 chemicals to keep it feeling fresh. Balloon bread undergoes rigor mortis by the additive plaster of Paris. To improve the keeping quality of shelf foods, processors embalm many products. Kind of like they say, high shelf life, low health life. You've heard that, right? When processors make foods easier to prepare, these products are mashed, mushed, and mangled, and loaded with chemicals, so that consumers can have cake mixes, peeled and sliced potatoes, and instant everything. Yeah, instant everything. Yeah, I remember like instant oatmeal, instant mashed potatoes, instant noodles. Yeah, the instant noodles, definitely. There was a whole year of my life where I ate instant noodles every day. out of the year, I ate ramen noodles every single day. And when I looked at the chemicals, like later on, like many years later, because I never even looked at the label. I never even looked at the chemicals. I never even looked at like all the MSG, the additives, just the sodium content, like all of the content inside it. And I didn't even see on the styrofoam, there was a message on the styrofoam that said, do not microwave. And I was microwaving it all the time. It's crazy. I was like, if I lived for a year on that, Jesus Christ. Pat yourself on the back. Like you're still here. If you're here, you made it. Congratulations. Like your body is amazing. One well-known natural orange flavored drink. Natural orange flavored drink consists of sugar, citric acid, natural flavors, gum arabic, monosodium phosphate, potassium citrate, calcium phosphate, vitamin C, cellulose gum, hydrogenated coconut oil, artificial flavor, artificial coloring, vitamin A, and butylated hydroxynosol. No orange could possibly live in such an environment. Can you find the foods in these poisons? Hence the title of this chapter. 300 standard foods, including ice cream, ketchup. Oh my God, I was the king of ketchup. We called ourselves the ketchup family. Mayonnaise need not list their ingredients. Wow, yeah, they don't even need to list their ingredients on the label. By law, the label must identify the product in a language the consumer can understand. However, the manufacturer has been given the option to choose among many alternative standard chemicals, and only if they substitute or add a non-standard chemical must they indicate that fact on the label. Ice cream, for example, which can have some 30 additives, need indicate no ingredients on the label. Fatalities have followed ingestion of doses of eucalyptol, a synthetic mild flavoring for beverages, ice cream, ices, candy, baked goods, and chewing gum. Even as small amounts of 3 millimeters or 3 milliliters, 1 millimeter or 1 milliliter is equivalent to 1 gram. Milliliters, yeah, 3 milliliters. Does it really matter that our bodies are playing host to thousands of different toxic chemicals at any given moment? The 10,000 commonly used chemical additives are used for some 50 functions. One of these categories is preservatives. These preservatives, or anti-spoilants, are used to help prevent microbiological spoilage and chemical deterioration. There are about 100 types in use. Preservatives for fatty products are called antioxidants, which prevent the production of off flavors and off odors. These include benzoic acid, used in margarine, butylated hydroxynosol, or BHA, used in lard, shortenings, crackers. Wow, how many of us have had the cheese crackers? I remember the peanut butter and cheese crackers. Soup bases and potato chips. Oh, yeah, salt and vinegar potato chips, those I used to have a lot. And even Slim Jims too, I was addicted to those. In bread, the preservatives are mold and rope inhibitors. They include sodium and calcium propionate, sodium diacetate, and such acetic substances as acetic acid and lactic acid. Sorbic acid, sodium and potassium salts are preservatives used in cheeses, syrups, and pie fillings. Wow. Used to go to IHOP. We would layer the pancakes in blueberry syrup and strawberry syrup, all sorts of syrups. What, Aunt Jemima, right? Can't go wrong with Aunt Jemima, right? Others are used to prevent mold and fungus growth on citrus fruits, such as fungicides. Sequestering agents, still another preservative, prevent physical and chemical changes that affect color, flavor, texture, or appearance. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, there was a commercial, or there was an advertisement or something for green ketchup. You know, I was watching, Cartoon Network. I was all about Nickelodeon, and they were big on slime and this and that, playing with slime. And I remember seeing green ketchup. It wasn't around that long, but there was green ketchup on the shelves. And it was ketchup, but it was colored green. And I remember buying this ketchup. And my mom had cooked me some eggs that morning. And I poured all this green ketchup over the eggs. And I remember when I looked at it, I couldn't eat it. Just because it was green. Like, I just looked at it and it was like, it wasn't even appetizing. But when it was red, it was appetizing. But all this green ketchup covering all these eggs, I couldn't eat it. And I used to put ketchup on everything. I put ketchup on rice, macaroni and cheese, eggs, hot dogs, like everything. I was putting up ketchup on everything. And I remember that day my mom was pissed. She was pissed. She said, "You're going to eat all of it. Every last bite, every morsel on that plate, you will not get up from that table until you lick that plate clean." I remember I suffered through it. Just the color, it made me nauseous. To drop a coin into a glass of soda pop is to recognize the metal effects found in soft drinks, right? Ethylenidia, minoxidilic acid, EDTA, and its salts, for instance, is used to prevent the adverse effects of the presence of metals found in soft drinks where metal ions cause clouding. Wow. I remember I used to drink Dr. Pepper just because a commercial said something about, like, it had a guy with his arms around like these women, and it was a Dr. Pepper commercial, like saying basically if you drink Dr. Pepper, you'll get all these girls. Like, for some reason you'll be the hottest guy around. Like, you'll be a ladies man if you drink Dr. Pepper. And I fell into that. So I'll go to Burger King and McDonald's, and I would order for Dr. Peppers all the time, thinking that if I drank Dr. Pepper, somehow magically girls were just gonna look at me and be attracted to me. And I was very nerdy. I was geeky back then. Still am today. But I remember one day my dad, he took like Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper. We took soda. And my dad's a mechanic. He does a lot of engineer work and mechanic work on cars. And he took this soda, same soda we were drinking, like the Pepsis, the Coca-Colas, the Dr. Peppers. And he poured it onto a toothbrush. And there was a corroded battery. There was a battery in the car that had all this corrosion, this buildup. And he just poured the soda onto the toothbrush, and he cleaned the corrosion off of the battery, off of the car battery. He cleaned off the battery with soda. Soda. And I said, wait a minute, wait. Like, my mind was like, like the DJ in my mind was like, hold up, wait a minute. Did he just pour what I think he poured and clean that battery with what I think he did? Like, is that the same thing I've been drinking, I've been holding in my guts? Like, if that did that to that, what is it doing in my gut? What is it doing in me? And that was the question. That was the question that just, it was bugging me. The seed was planted when I seen my dad do that while he worked on that car. It's crazy. Sequestrants used in dairy products to keep them fresh and sweet include sodium, calcium, and potassium salts of citric, tartaric, and pyrophosphoric acids. Other multi-purpose preservatives are the gases sulfur dioxide, propyl gallate, and of the more common variety, sugar, salt, and vinegar. Woo-wee! All the probably gallons and gallons of Louisiana and Texas Pete in my life. How many times? The degree of acidity or alkalinity is important in many processed foods. An acid, such as potassium acid tartrate, sodium aluminum phosphate, or tartaric acid, acts on the leavening agent in baked goods and releases the gases, which causes the desired rising. The flavor of many soft drinks, other than cola types, and modified by the use of an acid such as citric acid from citrus fruits, malic acid from apples, or tartaric acid, a component of grapes. Phosphoric acid is used to give colas that tangy taste. The same acids that are used in soft drinks are also used in churning cream to help preserve the flavor and keep the quality of butter. Alkalis, such as ammonium hydroxide in cocoa products, and ammonium carbonate in candy, cookies, and crackers, are employed to make the products more alkaline. Buffers and neutralizing agents are chemicals added to foods to control acidity or alkalinity, just as acids and alkalines are added directly. Some common chemicals in this class are ammonium bicarbonate, calcium carbonate, sodium aluminum phosphate, potassium acid tartrate, and tartaric acid. Humectants are necessary in the production of some types of confections and candy to prevent drying out. Without a humectant, shredded coconut, for example, would not remain soft and pliable. Substances used for this purpose include glycerin, which retains the soft, moist texture in marshmallows. Whoa, you ever had a lot of marshmallows, hot chocolate? I remember. Around Christmas. Propylene, glycol, and sorbitol. On the other hand, calcium silicate is used to prevent table salt from caking due to moisture absorption from the air. These and hundreds more of the above items are what we are feeding our loved ones. By eliminating convenience foods from your daily diet, you will be able to eliminate a vast source of these poisons. However, something else to look at are the coloring agents found in most foods. Food colors of both natural and synthetic origin are extensively used in processed foods, and they play a major role in increasing the acceptability and attractiveness of the products. The indiscriminate use of color can conceal damage or inferiority, or make the product appear better than it actually is. There are some 140 different kinds of colorants, of which many have been found unsafe. Certain chemical coloring found to cause tumors at the site of injection in animals was not seen as significant by the FDA, because the colors in the experiment were injected by needle and not ingested in food. Can you imagine? This kind of reasoning is indicative of the level of consciousness shared by the people running the FDA, the agency responsible for protecting our so-called foods. Some of the colors used in foods are alkanet, aneth, carotene, chlorophyll, cochineal, saffron, and turmeric. Foods that are frequently colored include candies, baked goods, soft drinks, and some dairy products such as butter, cheese, and ice cream. As if enough had not already been done to these so-called foods, in order to cover up further the truth about these mixtures of chemicals, natural and synthetic, it was necessary to invent another group of chemicals to restore or replace the flavor of what little food value might be found among these poisons. For this purpose of flavoring, a wide variety of spices, natural extractives, oleoresins, and essential oils are used. The modern flavor chemist has produced many synthetic flavors as well. These over-concentrated compositions of taste bud stimulants are used extensively in soft drinks, baked goods, ice cream, and confectionery. Flavoring agents are the most numerous additive, with over 2,000 in use. Of these, 500 are natural poisons, and the balance are synthetic poisons. Amyl acetate, benzaldehyde, carvone, ethyl acetate, ethyl butyrate, methyl salicytate are typical compounds used in the preparation of flavoring materials. There are also flavor enhancers, the commonest being monosodium glutamate, or MSG, and maltol. Man has become so artificialized in his way of thinking that he finds it all but impossible to leave anything in a natural state. The old saying, water seeks its own level, is demonstrated daily by mankind's seemingly natural or unnatural attraction to these things that are synthetic, plastic, devitalized, and void of any similarities to naturalness. Even substances that were put here by Mother Nature, which might be taken into the human body as food or medicine, have not escaped the ravishing and destructive hands of man and have been made unfit for this purpose. As an example of this, ethylene gas is used to hasten the ripening of bananas. Maleic hydroside is used to prevent potatoes from sprouting. This process is known as physiologic activity control. Of all the food enzyme additives, amylases, which act on starch, have the most numerous applications. Various amylases from plant, animal, fungal, and bacterial sources have been used to break down the components of starch to make it more digestible. Enzymes are also used in the fermentation of sugar to make candy in the brewing business, and in the manufacture of artificial honey, bread, and frozen milk concentrates. We hope by now you are beginning to see why the title of this chapter is called The Foods in Your Poisons. If you are getting the feeling that all has been done that can be done to annihilate any resemblance of what might have been used as food or medicine, you are in for a big surprise. There is a saying that admonishes, to make a lie seem like the truth, one has to use more lies. Thusly, to make a composition of poisons and toxic waste seem like food and substance for life, it is likewise necessary to use more poisons and more toxic waste. So let us explore this new breed of poisons and toxic waste, used exclusively as bleaching and maturing agents or bread improvers. Whoa. Fresh ground flour is pale yellow. Upon storage, it slowly becomes white and undergoes an aging process that improves its baking qualities. For more than 50 years, processors have added oxidizing agents to the flour to accelerate this process, thus reducing storage cost, spoilage, and the opportunity for insect and infestation. Compounds such as benzoyl peroxide bleach the flour without affecting baking qualities. Other compounds, such as oxides of nitrogen, chlorine dioxide, nitrosyl chloride, and chlorine, have both a bleaching and maturing or improving ability. Bread improvers used by the baking industry contain oxidizing substances such as potassium bromate, potassium iodate, and calcium peroxide. They also contain inorganic salts such as ammonium or calcium sulfate and ammonium phosphates, which serve as yeast foods and dough conditioners. Many chemicals fall into the category known as processing aids. Sanitizing agents, for instance, to clean bacteria and debris from products are considered such aids. There are clarifying agents which remove extraneous materials. Tannin is used for clarifying liquids. In the wine and brewing industries, gelatin and albumin remove small particles and minute traces of copper and iron in the production of vinegar and beverages. Emulsifiers and emulsion stabilizers help to maintain a mixture and assure a consistency. Some common emulsifiers are lecithin, the monoglycerides and diglycerides, and propylene glycol alginate. Jesus Christ. What in the world? Texturizers or stabilizers are added to products to give them body and maintain a desired texture. I remember hearing about body when we were dealing with wines. Back when I was drinking wines like sangria and, you know, white Merlot and Chardonnay and all these wines. They were talking about light body and heavy body. Oh, this has a light body. Light body. No, this has a heavy body. Dry, this is sweet. Interesting. So to give them body and maintain a desired texture. For instance, calcium chloride or some other calcium salt is added to canned tomatoes and canned potatoes to keep them from falling apart. Wow. Sodium nitrate and sodium nitrite are used in curing meats to develop and stabilize the pink color. Nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide are employed in pressure-packed containers of certain foods to act as whipping agents or as propellants. The texture of ice cream and other frozen desserts is dependent on the size of the ice crystals in the product. By the addition of a jar, gelatin, cellulose gum, and or some other gum, the size of the ice crystals are stabilized. Texturizer gums are also used in chocolate milk. Yeah, had a lot of that. Anybody else? Had Yoo-hoos? Yeah, Yoo-hoos every day when I was a kid. Chocolate milks. What was that chocolate syrup? I forgot what it was called. Yeah, I used to pour that in. To increase the viscosity of the product and to prevent the settling of cocoa particles to the bottom of the container. More Ovaltine, please. You remember that commercial? The kids used to shout, more Ovaltine. Remember that commercial? There were so many commercials. What would you do for a Klondike bar? Would you do this? Would you do that? And then the kids screaming on the radio, more Ovaltine, please, right? More Ovaltine. I remember. How do I remember all these, so much programming? Texturizer gums are used in chocolate milk to increase the viscosity of the product. Gelatin, pectin, and starch are used in confectionery products to give a desired texture. Artificially sweetened beverages also need bodying agents because they do not contain the thickness normally contributed by sugar. The thickeners, the thickening, is it thick enough? You need a little bit thicker than a Snicker. The thickeners employed include such gums as sodium alginate and pectins. The foaming properties of brewed beer can also be improved by the addition of texturizers. Nutrition supplements is the classification of the next group of additives, which are more rightly termed additives. So every time you see the word additives, just substitute the word addictives. Enrichment of food means that the natural nutrients have been destroyed during processing and must somehow be replaced. Enrichment of cereal foods, whew, Jesus Christ, according to the big producers, is supposed to provide 12 to 23% of the daily supply of thiamine, niacin, and iron, and 10% of riboflavin recommended for human consumption. Fortification of food means that additional nutrients are added to the product to supposedly make it more nutritious than it was before. In other words, helping Mother Nature out a little bit. For instance, vitamin C is added to orange drinks, and vitamin A is added to margarine. Vitamin D is used to fortify milk to prevent rickets, and potassium iodide is added to iodized salt. A number of additional chemicals are employed for various purposes. Certain sugar substitutes are used in foods for persons who must restrict their intake of ordinary sweets. Starting to sound like nothing is ordinary right now. Saccharin and sorbitol are commonly used for this purpose. Glazes and polishes, such as waxes and gum benzoin, they're talking about glazed donuts, are used on coated confections to give luster to an otherwise dull surface. Wow. Magnesium carbonate and tricalcium phosphate are employed as anti-caking agents in table salt, and calcium stearate is used for a similar purpose in garlic salt. If you think what you have read so far is mind-boggling, just read on, for we believe we can top it. Take a look at this headline found in a very popular national magazine. A Canadian scientist turns wood chips, coffee grounds, and manure into edible food. This headline is accompanied by a picture of this scientist taking a bite into one of his microbe munchings. The article goes on to say, when it comes to the ultimate junk food, French fries, taco chips, and cupcakes have nothing on the culinary creation of Dr. Murray Mu-Young. The professor of biochemical engineering of Waterloo University in Ontario has invented food that's made entirely from junk. For the past 8 years, Mu-Young, 48, and his colleagues have been working on a process whereby fungi converts garbage into an edible substance that is 30 to 50% protein. The fungi, which are called, am I saying that right? Fungi, let me say fungi. The fungi, which are called Chaetomium celluloliticium, feed on things like straw, cow manure, wood chips, coffee grounds, and the sludge left over from paper manufacturing. The article states that more than 500 companies in 30 countries have requested information on Mu-Young's invention, and last month he signed licensing agreements with a French conglomerate which intends to build 14 processing plants throughout Europe. Perhaps these people have not heard of the old saying, "You are what you eat." As the perfect contrast, let us read from the Essene Gospel of Peace, the exact means of achieving a state of perfect health and happiness, instead of achieving a state of perfect misery and pain. The angel of air. We worship the holy breath, which is placed higher than all the other things created. And we worship the most true wisdom. In the midst of the fresh air of the forest and fields, there shalt thou find the angel of air. Patiently she waits for thee to quit the dank and crowded holes of the city. Seek her then and quaff deeply of the healing draught which she doth offer thee. Breathe long and deeply, that the angel of air may be brought within you. For the rhythm of thy breath is the key of thy knowledge, which doth reveal the holy law. The angel of air doth soar on invisible wings, yet thou must walk her unseen path. If thou wouldst see the face of God, sweeter than the finest nectar of honeyed pomegranate is the fragrance of the wind in the grove of cypress. Sweeter still the scent of the godly, who do revere and teach the holy law. Holy is the angel of air, who doth cleanse all that is unclean, and giveth to all evil-smelling things a sweet odor. Come on, O clouds, from above down to the earth, by thousands of drops. Through their brightness and glory the winds blow, driving down the clouds. Toward the never-failing springs, vapors rise up from the vales of the mountains, pursued by the wind along the trail of the law, which increaseth the kingdom of light. The heavenly Father hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his will. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his breath, as the sea is gathering place of the waters, rising up and going down, up the aerial way and down on to the earth, and up again the aerial way. Thus rise up and roll along, thou, for whose rising and growing the heavenly Father hath made the eternal and sovereign luminous space. No man may come before the face of God, whom the angel of air letteth not pass. The body must breathe the air of the earthly mother, as thy spirit must breathe the holy law of the heavenly Father. And this concludes our chapter 2, the foods in our poisons. Wow. Once again, this has been a reading as we've been proceeding from the book called Breatharianism, Breathe and Live Forever by Nancy Foss and Wiley Brooks, as we've been taking a look by different things that have us shook. My goodness. We're going and traveling down new waters, new babbling brooks, with new wisdom of the ages from some of today's modern sages. Once again, this has been Jerome Shaw with the Pranic Pages. And you can check out the playlist on YouTube. It's called the Pranic Pages. And for anything that concerns pranic living, if you'd like to check out our website that we have for you, it's called patreon.com/pranicpath. So once again, a whole library, wealth of knowledge for you, tons of audios for your listening pleasure, videos for your viewing pleasure, books for your reading pleasure at the website patreon.com/pranicpath. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you always for listening. Share the message with someone who needs to hear it. Keep the grateful, thankful spirit. And may the rest of your life, and the breath of your life, be the best of your life. My friend, this has been Jerome Shaw, and much love.